Okay, let's see, is this working? I think so. Cool. So, did some streaming yesterday. Really helped me focus. And it was very fun. Accomplished a bunch of things. So, figured I'd do it again today, especially since Steve is in LA now. So, I don't have the accountability that I have when he's around. So yeah, just to set expectations, I'm mostly doing this for myself to focus, and maybe it's boring to watch at times, but uh, yeah, don't expect too much here. Um, but yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's just dive into it and see where we end up. So let's see what we had. So we had the flame graph yesterday. Yeah, we implemented a bunch of stuff. We implemented, yeah, a lot of this stuff. It's still so good. Okay, so there were a couple of things I wanted to follow up on that we ran into yesterday. So let me first just create some tickets for some things that we ran into, just to get that out of the way. So let's see, if we go to our Zaplib issue tracker. So one of the things that we ran into was the animator. We want some animator improvements, and in particular, the real blocker for us to continue using the animator was the fact that we couldn't use the sort of like dynamically generated animations. So yeah, we want to improve that at some point. Animator only accepts constant anim objects and to be able to dynamically generate animations, but currently they have to be statically defined. And we ran into this with the Pyroscope project. I don't think we have a label for that yet. Oh boy, we go here. If I go back now, okay, it still has it. All right. Let's add a new label. Pyroscope, and we've been using this color for all of them, for all of the sort of projects that we're applying Zaplib to. Okay, so now I can say enhancement and Pyroscope. Sure. I don't know. Okay. That is one. Okay. And let me maybe add a to-do somewhere. So we have our animator and we have our anim, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that was the main thing that we ran into yesterday. I think I added another to-do somewhere at some point. Was that in here or was that in the main file? Oh yeah, here. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a relatively minor one. Maybe we can just go ahead and do that. Right, because we have sort of this F32 extension thing in our vector library, but we don't really expose that normally. So I think this is something that just belongs in our math library. And in fact, we already have some lerp functions here for some other things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we can't just implement something for F32. We can implement it for these types of structs, right? Like we could have something like this here. But how do we do that for other values? I mean, heck, let's just see if there's something out there. Like there must be something already. Is there not something already on F32 that like Rust has a lot of built-in stuff for things like this? What kind of primitive? Yeah, see, we have lots of functions that are already defined on it. Do we not have a linear interpolation on it? No, we don't. Okay. That is too bad. Yeah, okay. I guess this is fine. We can just use a crate for it. It's just so common. We probably just want to have it in our thing. Yeah, okay, whatever. Doesn't matter too much. We can just use this next time. We can use it right now. Sure, let's just do that real quick. Yeah, because I don't see a much nicer way. Or do we just want to do it real quick? We have so many convenience functions, and it just feels like this is kind of table stakes. Okay, let me just implement it real quick. We have something like a scalar. Oh yeah, right. Let's see. God, how do we do this again? That's funny. Sure, why the hell not? Yeah, I guess we don't need this. We can just have sort of a naked function like this, and then we can say from and the only thing is it must be able to do these kinds of things. Yeah. So yeah, bloop, and then also let's see. Yeah, I guess it really. Sure. I guess we just mostly want it for F32s anyway, so let's just do that for now. Can always change it later. Actually, was this just this? Sure, whatever. No, okay, I'm not going to deal with this. We just want this for F32s anyway. Okay, great, and then this can be just a public function, whatever. And then we do really want it for some of these things, because that's just extremely convenient. I guess we called it from lerp in some other places. Yeah, so we have it here already for vec3. And then we have it for transforms, but we don't have it for vec2. And right. Oh, well, the first thing that we can do here is kind of simplify this. So we can say plup. X is going to be the lerp from A to B with F, and then we need to actually index into the proper one. Something like this. Yeah, and then we also don't need this thing here. Okay, that should be equivalent to what we had before. Do we use this anywhere? No, we don't really use it actually. That's fine. Okay, sure, whatever. What is slurp? Oh, right. Yeah, okay. Okay, great. So let's just implement this real quick for vec4. Get a W. Oops. Great. Not happy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this should just all be self, right? That's better. Let's do that for the other one too. Yeah, this should also be self. Okay, and then if we go to vec2, we want it there too for sure. So we can just get rid of these ones. Okay, and then maybe if we are sticking with that naming convention, we can do something like this. Okay, and then we can use that here and address our to-do. Okay. Great. Now we don't need this anymore. Is it still, do we still use, why is it not complaining that this is unused code? Okay, who cares? Okay. Oh, because some other stuff is, I see. We have to update these. Zip. Oh yeah, we just renamed this. Okay, great. Okay, that seems fine to me. Do we want some tests for this? Yeah, we probably at some point want to test things a little bit more. Okay, let's set the right example also while we're at it, and add like maybe some tests for this kind of stuff. How do we do that again? Yeah, something like this. Great. Sure. Something like this. Okay, I just don't want to. I want to set the right example here and make things a little bit better as we do these things. Okay, so what? Sure. Great. Thank you. Yes, we don't have these. This can be something like this. That is very nice. Sure, we can just test that and then we test everything else sort of automatically. Oh, is this not needed? What? No, that is needed. Wait, do I not do this correctly? Oh yeah, this should be this. Something like this, right? Yeah. And then, wait, do we? Okay, sure, this is fine. Okay, let's just run our test. Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Copilot. You are a true Copilot. Okay, so that was simple. Now we have addressed that to do. Yeah, so these two really is add lerp to library, or like common in graphics programming. Great. And then to do for dynamic animations. Okay. Okay, so those were some of the things I wanted to follow up on from yesterday. Did we run into anything else yesterday? I think this was it. Yeah, maybe next time I should keep a list of things to follow up on. In fact, let's maybe do that right now and think of what we can do next. So what is the goal? Like, the goal is to implement Zaplib flame graph in Pyroscope open source project. I mean, really the goal is so I guess these are the goals. The second goal is like publish Pyroscope case study. Yes, this is really the main goal, and for that we have to implement it, but also profile or like benchmark Zaplib implementation against existing implementation. Okay. So Steve was looking a little bit into the benchmarking already. So let's say that this is Steve, this is me. So what are we going to do? Right. So if we look at the way it looks, right, like we can just do that first and see where are some discrepancies. Okay, I also find it annoying that I have to drag it in every time. Let me just fix that real quick. Just so for you guys on the stream, it's sort of always in the right position. So I think for that we can have just the window have a create position. So let's just do that when we create. Oh, that's actually a little bit annoying right now. We don't have that. Okay. Maybe we'll save that for some other time. Yeah, we'll save that for some. Or, you know what, I'm just going to maybe change the default create position. Right, so on macOS, let's just search for, oh yeah, right, we have a position. We can create a metal window with that position, and if it's not there, oh, interesting. I suppose that this means that we let the operating system decide where to spawn it. How does it decide that? If I move this further over here, will it go? No, it just always puts it. Oh, it's in the center of my screen. Okay. Fine. All right. Whatever. I don't want to deal with that right now. Okay. So let's see. So what are the discrepancies? So if we open Pyroscope, the Pyroscope demo. Oh yeah. Oh, here we have a nice demo. Let's see. Right. So there's all this stuff which we're not going to be bothered by. Ooh, this is important. We have this hover thing, but the hover goes all over on top of everything. So unless we also render this ourselves, this will kind of escape our canvas. So that means that we probably don't want to implement this hover state fully inside of Zaplib. We probably want to keep this as a DOM element and kind of communicate when you're hovering over a particular thing, unless we also want to implement this, which we surely can. I just don't know if we want to do that right now. Okay, and then there's also, if you click this, it kind of highlights it here. That is interesting. and it fades everything else out. And there was similar behavior actually if we clicked one of these, but it's slightly different. But because if we click here, it grays out these fonts and it keeps everything below here. Okay, so maybe we don't want to implement all of these quite yet. Yes, this is sort of a highlight feature. That is okay. We can do that later. Let's see, what else do we have? So the other thing, like the styles are pretty good. The text rendering I'm not super happy with. Like it looks a little washed out on my monitor. It looks a lot better on my Retina screen. But I think this is kind of a general issue with our text rendering. Like, I think MakePad itself has this issue too, which we forked our rendering system from. Yeah, so it just looks a little bit bad, and it's hard to say exactly what is going on, but I think it's some sort of anti-aliasing or something. So that might be something to figure out. So let's at least put that on the list. I don't know if we'll get to that today. It might be a bunch of investigation. So let's see, text rendering looks bad on non-Retina screen. Okay, right, so then the other ones that we just mentioned were like pop over when hovering, keep in DOM, highlighting when, I don't know what they call this thing. What do you call this list? Like, let's just call it like the side table or something. Oh, hey Rob. Sorry, I'm not following chat very well. I figured I'd just look over. Good to see you. Okay, so let's see. So highlighting when selecting item in the side table. Okay. So that's something we want to do. Right, then there's like, do we want to do this highlighting? Yeah, maybe. I mean, it seems less important now that we have this animation, honestly. But I guess if you, yeah, no, it might be good, because if you are sort of in this state now, I mean, you can still sort of move around yourself. One thing that might be good is to actually give, but you know, it's kind of breaking with how things look like here. But what might be more appropriate once you have sort of this free form moving around and so on. Oh yeah, we also wanted, this is a follow-up from yesterday. Like this is, the scrolling is weird, so fix scrolling behavior when zoomed in a lot. And then also we want the scrolling to be sort of around the current mouse position. Scrolling around current mouse position. Or we can just remove or like temporarily disable scrolling and panning altogether, because it really was just an intermediate step for us towards this animation. So that would scope things down a little bit, and then we can bring it back later. We can just comment it out. So scrolling, panning, and then yeah, we can do this when we enable it again. I'll just keep it like this. Right. And then the other, okay. So if we do that, we can say, well, okay. So what I was going to say is that it might be nice to kind of have some gradient for these boxes instead of a solid color, because then you'll actually notice a little bit better if you're zoomed in or not. But if we're going to just disable the scrolling and panning anyway for now, we might just go... It's probably easiest to just start with just matching the behavior from the existing implementation as close as possible. So let's maybe do that. Focus rectangle highlighting. Okay. Okay, that is good. The other thing that bothers me is just the ellipsis is like very long. What they do here is they actually don't have an ellipsis at all. So one thing that we could do is we could make it so that you can specify what kind of ellipsis you want, and then you can just keep that an empty string if you don't want it, if you don't just want to clip it. That is one possibility. That is one possibility. Or we can investigate and make it sort of a better glyph. But I kind of like the way they have it. It's just, you know, it's a very technical, very dense looking thing. Although here on the left they do have the ellipsis. And that looks pretty good too. And here it's a single glyph. But for that, again, we would have to do a bit more work because I don't think that our current font has that glyph in it, or there's something with it. I tried rendering it before and it didn't render. So yeah, let's say that we just want to clip it for now. That should be a bit easier, and that also makes it right. So then future improvements, bring back scrolling, panning, and then we can do this, and then also, yeah, like at some point, single or like ellipsis glyph. Figure out why it doesn't render currently, and then for now we will just say no ellipsis at all. The thing that I do like about what they have is that it does kind of, the letters get cut off, which also shows that there's more there. I don't think that would be very easy for us to implement right now, but I might be wrong. I think that's it might not be too bad actually. Okay. I guess that is just a question mark. Letters or not. Okay. It's just it's a small thing, but these small little details matter, you know? It's like fun little details. And then aesthetically, I mean, obviously we don't use their colors yet, so we probably want to do that at some point. Right, so then we really get into the integration with the existing code base. Yeah, so there's a bunch that needs to be done there. Like, first of all, we'll just need to figure out how to transmit data and so on at all. We need to run it in WASM for starters. Well, let's actually just run it in WASM real quick to see how close we are there, because I think it should run in WASM already. So we can do a cargo zaplib build, example flame graph, and then we should be able to run it here. Oh, wait, I need to run a server. Okay. Let's see. Oh, Zaplib examples, that's right. And this is very annoyingly not rendered or not sorted, but whatever. Okay, so what? Oh, we didn't update this properly. This index.html, we also need to update here to point to example flame graph, okay. And then with that, okay, so this works here. It's a bit laggier. It's not that bad actually, even with a debug build. But if we do a release build, I'm pretty sure this should be very fast. Then we just have to put !release here. Okay, yeah, this is very smooth. Great. Yeah, we can probably put an FPS counter there. And we already have written down a task that we need to benchmark this stuff. Okay, but it runs in WASM in principle, just in isolation. So yeah, at some point we will need to figure out how to do the integration there. So let's see. Integration into Pyroscope. There's a couple of things here. Hello world integration, right? Like just getting Rust to run. Tool chain setup, tests, etc. Yeah, then the other thing that we'll have to figure out is how to render it in this location, because we don't actually have very good primitives for that yet. The way that it currently works in Zaplib is that we create a big canvas that sits on top of everything, but that won't work well with things like tooltips. So yeah, we'll have to think about that. One of the possibilities is to say, okay, just render to this canvas here, which, oh yeah, we do have, yeah, if we do that right now, then our events won't come in properly. So that is one thing that is possible. The problem with that also is if you now want to render to multiple canvases, there's all sorts of issues with that. For example, we currently only allow having one Zaplib instance. There's a ticket for that, for improving that. But also the problem is once you have, if you want to show like a bunch of these flame graphs on the same page, there's kind of a limit to the number of WebGL contexts that you can have active, and it differs by browser. And so the more we can keep everything being done by one single canvas that spans the entire page and where we just communicate the coordinates of where to render, the more flexible we are in terms of, rendering multiple instances controlled by Zaplib. So I'm not super sure, because the global canvas also has a bunch of downsides, right? Especially with things like tooltips and such. But okay, I think we probably want to start there. So okay, let's say like rendering at proper location, bring back tooltips. This highlighting when selecting an item in the side table really is part of when we do this integration. Yeah, this is really what I meant here. Okay. Yeah, are there any other things that... oh yeah, of course there's like transferring the data. I think we probably want to figure out the rendering first, because that seems a little bit more risky to me. But after we figure out the rendering, we want to transfer data. And we'll have to figure out like what is the right format, like what is the current format within Pyroscope and so on. So this will be quite a bit of digging, and perhaps the Pyroscope folks can help us out here and there. Okay. Anything else that we will need to do? Let's see. The font also just kind of sucks. But maybe it will look better when we fix the fact that it looks a little bit washed out. But I also feel like this font is just like a little bit tighter. You can just fit more in there. This is a very wide font. So maybe we'll do that as a... yeah, I mean, okay. It's a little bit in between here. Like, it's not super critical right now. Let's just write it down though. And we can save this somewhere. I'll just save this here. Pyroscope. Zaplib tasks. Like this. Okay. That seems pretty good. Oh, I remember another thing. Yeah, this was not from the stream yesterday, but it is something that I encountered earlier that we will have to look into at some point. So, what was that again? So it was basically another sort of thing to fix. Fix the rectangle border / coordinates. So what I found is that if I just draw a rectangle here, the coordinates seem to be slightly off. And so that is why I don't have a proper border around each of these boxes right now. Because it basically stuff showed up in the wrong place, which is quite unfortunate. So we need to look... Yeah, this is the long tail of stuff, right? This is what people talk about when they talk about the 80-20 rule. It's like yesterday I got so much done in like 2 hours. And today we'll probably have to chase the long tail of like small issues that just creep up. But they are really important, right? Because they are the types of paper cuts that would turn people away from a project like this. Because you expect your library to be stable and, you know, working as you expect with all those small little details. So, yeah, let's see. That is something we'll have to deal with too. That seems to be it for now. I don't know if there's any other features that I'm probably missing some features here, right? But the Pyroscope people can tell me about those. At least sort of as a first approximation, this seems pretty decent. Yeah. Look, yeah. This is a table, right? Okay, this is if you just look at the flame graph. Right, there's different sortings too. Right, so that probably will fall under... Ooh, is this a bug? Oh no. Oh, till first, I see. Oh, this is interesting. There's a feature where the text ends up at the end. Ooh. Okay, we will have to implement that too. That will be a little bit trickier because we can't use the ellipsis in the same way. Because that really assumes that you're... okay, that changes things a little bit. That is a neat feature. Okay, let me write that down. Head first versus tail first. There seems to be more... Yeah, I should implement this first because this will probably inform like how I should implement the cutting off of things. Okay, that is important. There's also a search feature. Okay, so that is, just highlighting stuff in here. Right, so that will be search highlighting. Okay, Focus on subtree. Interesting. Yeah, that seems like a feature that maybe we don't need as much anymore. It kind of calls, like maybe instead, I mean, we could do that. And we could just have like panning along the y-axis as well. Yeah, okay. If we're going to go for sort of an exact implementation here, then we should probably also implement that. So, okay, let me at least write it down. We can decide if we want to skip that or actually implement it. I mean, it wouldn't be very hard to implement either way, so might as well. Focus subtree is another feature here. What else do we have here? Okay, you can save this thing. Saving as PNG. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem, I think. Yeah, we can probably just, still capture the canvas in the same way for that, and then the other ones are not as relevant. This opens it here. Okay, so you can share it. That's pretty nice. Right, so this is all more about like communicating the right data. Okay, I think this is good enough for us for now. I think this is good enough. So let's see. So how do we prioritize this? The text rendering it's really quite bad, honestly. It's really quite bad. It just looks so bad, at least on my monitor. I don't know if that comes across on the stream. So this is probably not very fun to investigate on the stream, but whatever. I'm doing this for myself, not for you guys. So I might just start with that. It feels like a pretty fundamental thing. Like our other examples, the text also just looks pretty bad on a non-retina screen. Right, like if we look at the original MakePad application, it has the same issue. It just looks sort of a little bit washed out. But yeah, how do you even begin to do that, right? We'll probably have to like take screenshots of this and then really zoom in and look at the individual pixels and make sure that, make sure we kind of understand what is happening there. And it's also code that I'm just not that familiar with. Like we forked this from MakePad and we modified some things in the text rendering, but the basic stuff we haven't really touched that much. And so it's a good opportunity for me to really understand how that works, because it's quite fundamental and important. So, okay. That might be the first thing that I'll tackle. Yeah, there's really sort of like fun tasks and not fun tasks in here, right? Like these are not fun, and these are like more fun, or like these are kind of rote, almost, and these are more fun. Yeah, I would say this kind of breaks down like this. So maybe I'll also maybe I'll take a not fun task and then do maybe some row tasks or some fun tasks and then come back to another non-fun task. Kind of make sure we have a bit of everything. Okay, that seems good. So I'll probably start with this. Let me take a little bathroom break. So for that, let's see if I can put. Oh, you know what? We'll just do this. Be right back. Bye. Can I disable the camera and the sound while I'm waiting? I guess I can just do this and Okay. All right. Let's see. Right. Text rendering. How are we going to do that? All right, so let's first see if the MakePad people changed much about that text rendering recently, because that is always a useful reference. So there's always these two branches that are interesting to look at, the dev branch and the live branch. Let's see, where is this these days? Draw text, I think. So let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Where's the actual shader again? Oh, I think the shader nowadays is highlighted. Yeah, here. Okay. This looks very similar. I think it's a little bit different, actually. Maybe might be a little bit different. Okay, so there's two parts to it. There's the draw text, and then there's the texture that this. Oh no, I think this is very similar still. Okay. Yeah, then there's also the texture itself, basically the font atlas. So let's have a look at that too. Atlas. God, where is this? Let's just do a search. Actually, I mean, we have like oh, I think I remember. I think this is in font. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't think this has changed a ton. Oh yeah. Let's see if it has changed much here. Yeah, so basically the font drawing is all through trapezoids. This is a very similar algorithm to one that was used by one of those Mozilla projects. I forgot what it was called, like the font render, like yeah, one of the font renderers in one of the Mozilla crates. So yeah, I don't think this has changed a ton. I mean, we could try to run it and see if it still looks pretty bad. Let's maybe do that. Do we not have that here? Just to be sure. Like if they just, completely fixed it, then we don't have to spend so much time on it. Let's see if this is still easy to get set up. So yeah, the main branch I don't think has been touched in a while. Oh, it has been actually, okay. Yeah, but not that much. Right, so I guess we can do nightly. Oh god. I don't know if I have done this recently. I think no. How does this work again? Oh yeah, rest up, that's right. Oh yeah, of course, otherwise, yeah. Otherwise we just run the Rust compiler. That wouldn't make much sense. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this still looks pretty bad. It still looks pretty washed out if you compare it to some good text here. Yeah. Yeah, not super great. Okay, let's actually maybe get a little bit better definition on what washed out means here. So maybe we can open like the color meter and get a nice little zoom. Right, so there's like a lot of this going on. Lots of aliasing here. I think we have that too, yeah. And then if you look at very crisp text, there's like less of that. There's some, but it seems a bit more contained maybe. Okay, let's try to get like one reference letter. Like here we have the letter E in very small font. Maybe we can get like a very small E here as well by zooming out a bit. So if we go to the digital color meter here, it's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. Also, I think on my screen, let's try the letter I. This does look somewhat comparable. What about these? Actually, let's look at Pyroscope. That's maybe a better comparison because we have like the same word here and with a similar background and so on. Yeah, okay, let's look at the L here. That looks pretty tight. And then the L here. Yeah, it's just very thick. See that? It's like two lines next to each other. Whereas here it's like one very crisp line and then one like a bit of an aliasing thing there. Whereas here it just kind of gets washed out, like the crispness is not there. And I wonder if this is because we're attempting to do subpixel rendering, but I don't think so. Because with subpixel rendering you would see, shades of red and blue and such, since it has like different values for subpixels. So I don't think we're doing subpixel rendering. It's just that the rendering isn't properly aligned here on this L. It should have been moved over a bit. Okay, and this I has the same issue, right? It's like, yeah. Let's see, the U here looks a little bit better. Let's stick with like the total here, because that's the one thing we have in common. So let's look at what the O looks like here. Right, so this is again much tighter. We have like a very tight ring of pixels here. That is where the pixels are quite black. But then here it's a bit more washed out. Like, it's a little bit better with the O. But it still feels a little bit more washed out. Like there's almost no pixels that are like completely black here. Like only this one, for example, really. And these ones here. These ones at the bottom are not good. Whereas here, yeah, this is a lot better here at the bottom. Okay, so that suggests to me, at least, that yeah, maybe there's just a slight offset or something somewhere. Yeah, this A is just almost like just a big blob of just pixels, whereas here, let's see, yeah, it's much more defined. Yeah, much clearer, like, yeah, okay. Okay, so that seems pretty clear to me. I don't think it's subpixel rendering, because you would have colored artifacts. I think that there might be some offset issue. Okay, well, that is something we can work with. So one thing that I wonder is, what is the size of the canvas that it is rendering to? Like, does it think that we have like a higher DPI or something? Yeah, because I'm doing this on a Mac that has like a Retina screen, and so maybe it thinks that it's rendering to a Retina screen, and so it's actually rendering at a higher resolution, but then it gets downsampled. That is certainly possible. Okay, that would be my first guess. So let's do some digging. So we have our text instance thing. Actually, let's go to our fonts thing, because I think here we create the atlas. It would be nice if we have a way to debug our font atlas and somehow print it in a way that is, yeah, just shows the whole atlas. That could be good. Okay, let's see. It's getting. Maybe I should open the door, turn down the thermostat a little bit. It's getting a little bit too hot in here. Let me turn down the thermostat. Okay. All right, let's see. So, right, our font atlas. Let's see how this whole thing works again. So we have a couple of different font styles. They're TTF files. So let's do that first, actually. I just want to see the font, right? Let's have a look at our fonts. So maybe we can open Zaplib/resources. Where's that? It should be here right now. Can I just open Ubuntu? Yeah, here. Oh, Zaplib main resources, okay. Okay, that seems fine. Right, so this is our font. So that looks good. It's a nice font. A free Ubuntu open source font. Okay, let's open it with Fontbook. Can you do things here? Can I like make it smaller, bigger, different font sizes? No, not really. Yeah, Fontbook doesn't seem particularly useful of a tool. Okay, it's just for briefly inspecting it. And then this, I guess, is our, can I put it in here? Yeah, this is our monospace font, so this is the one that we were looking at. Okay, yeah, okay, so the font itself, I mean, this is not a very useful debug tool, so maybe we'll find another one later. Okay, but those are the fonts that we have. Okay, so how does this whole thing work? So we have the load fonts thing, which gets called, I think, very early on initialization, and it will parse the TTF into this vector font thing. And a vector font, where is that defined? Oh yeah, it's here. So this has a bunch of information, and then it has a bunch of glyphs. And a glyph, yeah, has a bunch of, let's see. Yeah, so these are the metrics. This is just a rectangle for its size. Right, and then these are this is the actual data, the outline. So we have a bunch of points essentially, and they kind of form, form the contours. Okay. Right, so that is what we get here. And that goes into, so we have this fonts data structure, and that is the main thing that we operate on. So, and this is actually thread safe, so that you can generate text glyphs in a different thread if you want to. Right, and our fonts data consists of a vector of these fonts. Oh, well, and the CX font itself has some things. It has, like, once it's loaded, this vector font thing, which we just looked at. And then it has atlas pages. Let's see what an atlas page is again. Oh, that's right here. So this has a DPI factor. So I think this is sort of the retina kind of thing. If this is on a retina screen, this should be like 2.0. And then the font size for this particular page, right? So if you render with different font sizes, it will create a new page for each font size that you use. So you shouldn't change the font sizes too much, or only use a couple of them, otherwise we'll generate a lot of stuff. And then these, I think, are indexes into the atlas. So there's this global atlas, which how do I go back? Like this, right? No, that is not, no. Here, so fonts data is where. Right, so we have a separate font atlas, and the font atlas is a big texture, which has a certain size. It has a bunch of metadata. And then it also has a list of things that we want to render in the atlas. So this is sort of a queue or a stack of, like a queue of things that we want to render, and we will kind of batch render them together. Yeah, there is this stuff, but I think that's mostly for VR. Okay. Then if we go back to the font again, there's these atlas glyphs. Right. So, there's a list of them. And each one of them is like a texture coordinate. Right. So I think what we then do is we say we just render a bunch of glyphs. Well, the other thing, let's see. Right. So we have this map of character codes to glyphs, and then I think this is just kind of, this corresponds to those glyph indexes. I think, but I'm not super sure about this. Okay. So one thing that is interesting to start with is like printing this DPI factor, because I think on this screen it should be 0, because this screen is running on its native resolution, I believe. Right, if we go to displays, where's that? Oh yeah, here. This is the default for the display, yeah. So every sort of virtual pixel, if you will, is the same as our real pixel. And in fact, since it's not like an Apple Retina display, you can't even scale it in a way that, still, anyway, doesn't matter. I think the DPI factor should be 1 on this screen, and I suspect that it might not be. So let's see, where is a good place for this? Sure, this function will get called a bunch. We can print the DPI factor. Okay, it is 1. That is good. That is good. Okay, so that is let's also actually run this in the web version. Yeah, we don't have debug there. We have to do this. It's okay. We have to fix that at some point. Okay, so here it's also 1. Okay, that is good. Well, it's also too bad, because that would have been an easy fix if that wasn't the case. Right, let's see then. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess the different options are that either it gets rendered in the atlas correctly, but we then don't pull it from the atlas onto the screen correctly, or we don't render it on the atlas correctly in the first place. Right. Oh, and there's a comment of Forrest saying, I've been in the fonts rabbit hole for a couple of weeks. Hahaha. Yeah. Any tips for us? I don't know if he's still here. Let me just type to him. Okay. Okay, so how do we figure out if the atlas is correct or not? That is question number 1. Question number 2 is, just our rendering here. So we can just briefly look at the shader and try to understand it. Yeah, so I don't really understand it. I mean, this part is not too bad. Here we are getting the texture coordinates. Because we basically have 2 points, right? We have, we have the bottom left corner of the glyph, and we have the top right corner of the glyph. And so we get the texture coordinates, and we get I mean, this is interesting. Why is this here? So that is funky. What? These are our varyings, right? Okay, yeah, we get those 3 coordinates over. Right, so here we account for clipping and scrolling, and then we kind of quote-unquote apply that. Okay, I don't really understand this much at all. Okay. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? So it's doing... Right, so it's since it's monochrome, monochrome data, they can store different information in the RGB channels. So presumably we are getting some different information from the different channels, but I don't really understand what this swimming is referring to in VR. And I'm wondering if this is messing up some of the stuff that we're doing here. Right. Right, so this is sort of for font scaling. They save different scales or something. That is essentially what mip mapping is, right? Is you store sort of different sizes of things. Yeah, which in our case we don't really need, right? Because it's always sort of at the same distance. Like in VR, I guess you have the issue where you can be looking at like a 2D screen at like different distances and sizes and so on. So we are not too concerned about that. So that is one thing that I'm worried about, is that somehow messing with what we're doing here. So one thing I can try is just disabling this whole mip mapping business. And see what happens then. Let's maybe start there. So it seems to me that all this stuff is that, essentially. Right, because it's saying like, if there's... Sure, okay, whatever. I think this is a sort of a proxy for sort of how far away it is in the map. Yeah, okay, let's see what that does. That doesn't help at all. I don't think. Let's get back our friend the digital color meter. No, that doesn't help at all. Okay, but it does make maybe the reasoning about things a little bit easier. So yeah, there's this curve variable, which I think is like kind of that is something that I don't really know too much about, but I think it's some notion of like how tight the curve should be. Like certainly we are taking the exponent of this here. So if we have this as a factor here, I wonder what happens if you change this thing. Like, will everything become more crisp? Right. It's kind of funny, right? It's not something that you typically see when dealing with fonts, like this somewhat arbitrary number here. I wonder if this is like actually a well-defined thing in like font rendering world. Like this looks a lot better. Like this is sharper now. The 8, like it's still a little bit messy. I still don't like it that much. Like what was it before? 0.6. It still doesn't feel quite right. This still feels a little bit washed out. But I am kind of curious. Like, is this a normal thing that people do? Right? It's just, this is all just a bit vague now. Like, what is our font color anyway? Where's that? Yeah, we use just a regular black color. What if we oh yeah, and then there's the brightness thing. Okay, which is one okay. Let me set that to 1.0 here too. Yeah. It's just a little funky, the whole thing. If we have everything on 1.0 here, no adjustments, what does that look like? I mean, it's a little bit better, but it's not that much better. Like, I would expect this line to be like completely black. It's like, this is almost completely black. That's not too bad. But then this O is like super washed out. I mean, maybe it's also just an issue with this font at this size. Like the T is okay. Let's see how the browser would render this particular font. That seems like a good idea. So this is Liberation Mono. Surely there's like an example. Is there like a Google Fonts thing? No. Test drive. Okay. Well, what's the easiest way for me to try this out? These are all images. I just wanted Sure. Okay, let me just install the font. Bloop. Oh, okay. Nice. Ah, that is useful. This is how the system would render it. That is useful indeed. What size are we rendering things at right now? I guess at the default size. Font size is in here, right? That's a scale, or text style, and that has the font size. Okay, so the 8.0. Okay, so it's very small. Height factor, curve. Ooh. Okay. Right. Okay, so the font size is 8.0. I think. Font scale is 1, yeah. Oh well, we use this text style. And does that have a... Oh, that also has a font size of 8.0 by default. Okay. Some line spacing. Okay, and we set everything else to 1.0. Now the curve and the... Let me just put that here for clarity. Here I think it was like 0.6. Like whatever, we can leave that. Okay, but at least here in our monoface font, monospace font. Okay, so if we set this to 8, does that look like the same size? Oh, let's get rid of this. Looks bigger, right? Like this is smaller. No? Let's see. So this, yeah, it's like 3 pixels or 2 pixels wide at the base. And this O here, yeah, no, this is way smaller. Okay, so already there's a discrepancy in what size means, apparently. So if we make this one a little bit bigger, like 10 or so, can we get it to the size where it's like similar? That looks more similar. Now it's like 2 pixels wide. Okay. So I don't even know how that is defined normally, right? Like what does font size mean exactly? But clearly this program here has a different understanding of what size means compared to our font rendering. Right, and then there's sort of, so maybe that could account for something, right? Maybe we're just not interpreting size correctly. Okay, so that is one possibility. What if we make this just a little bit bigger? Like, actually we have like this text example. Was it that? Yeah. So here you can kind of resize it. And when it's big, it looks pretty good, right? Yeah. It's like a little bit, but it's not that much. But then when it's small, it doesn't look as good. Huh. Oh, I might have broken something earlier where spaces are gone. Okay, we'll have to fix that. Because I think I know what happened there, actually. Oopsie. I think we should have screenshot tests for this, so that will get caught by that. God. Right, let me write that down too. That's not fantastic. Okay. Oof, look at this L. Completely washed out here at this size. Whereas here, yeah, it's crisp, it still has like a bit of a border around it. And that's the Ubuntu font, so let's also install that real quick. So if we do that here, the L, lowercase l. Look, even here it's different. It only has like this border here, or yeah, this like aliasing on that side. Okay, now it has it on both sides, but it's very light here and it's dark here. This tool is also not very good. Yeah. Yeah, so that looks quite different from our L here. Okay, no, it's not too bad. It's somewhat similar at this size. And it also looks like a little bit washed out here too. Maybe it's just like a bit of a weird font. Like this one looks a little bit crisper. Like if we just, what is the standard font? Who even knows anymore? I guess like Helvetica. I can't go wrong with Helvetica, right? Yeah, okay. Also, everything looks just a little bit weird here on this, at this size. What is this text here? What is the system font? San Francisco. Great. Okay, SF? No. Is that not right? SF Pro? What? Well, don't see it here. Okay, weird. Okay, whatever. I mean, this looks very good, right? This is very sharp. And I don't even get that with this font here. It's like this looks a little bit washed out for me too. Looks like a little bit fake. Yeah, you see that? Like the I here, for example. Like the O is such a good example. The O looks pretty good here. And here it looks pretty washed out. Okay, this is a little bit better. I think the browser is really better to look at, maybe. that looks pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, it's also not perfect, but it's pretty good. The eye looks pretty good here. Here. Okay. Oh, yeah, and if we go back here, it's just so much worse. Truly awful. And if you compare it to this, oh, this is so much better, right? So much better. Forrest mentions hinting. Yeah. To a more whole pixel. Yeah, so that might also be happening. So yeah, that is really a big question, right? It's like, what are the actual positions? So maybe it's fine in the atlas, and so for that I think it would be good to debug the atlas. Actually, it should be pretty easy to debug the atlas, at least natively. I mean, this does look already so much better. Just, yeah, with the tweak of that curve variable. I mean, it's still not that good. But, the L looks good here. The T doesn't look as good here, though. Okay, let's maybe print for, like, what the locations of our glyphs are. That does seem quite useful. Let's do that. Because we can see if there are, like, half pixel positions or stuff. Flame rect. Here what we can say is, yeah, let's just debug it in here. So at some point we're drawing our text. Okay, so here we get our glyphs. So let's pull that out and say glyphs. Is this. And then we can say something like, if text equals total, otherwise we just get like so much stuff, right? We'll do this. Oh, and we'll, yeah, borrow it. What? Oh, sure. Whatever. Oh no. Something like this. Oh, why is it complaining about this all of a sudden? Oh, wait, what? Oh, there was already something called glyphs. Sure. New glyphs. Oopsie. Okay, so let's look at the actual positions that we get then. No? Oh, we're not in a drawbar. Whoops, my bad. Okay, there we go. Yeah, here, this is what I want. Great, glyphs, print it. Let's go. Oh, what is it unhappy about now? Oh, I'm not on top of my game here, I think. Okay, where were we? Okay, everything is good again, and now we add this, debug, glyphs, great, borrow it, okay. Okay. Sure. Okay, so the position. position here is at a nice whole size. We're indexing into the texture with this. Maybe we get into precision issues. That is certainly possible. That this is just not precise enough. Yeah, because we are rendering them at whole pixel locations, so that is good. And in the base we also get like some rounding or some things here. So maybe we're getting some rounding errors, is what I suspect. Maybe this is just not an amazing representation. Indexing into textures is always a little tricky. Okay, so that seems suspicious. Let's also look at the atlas. We can look at the atlas with the Xcode tools. So do I have Xcode installed yet? I might not have. Maybe I do. Let's see. Okay, I have to install additional required components. Oh, let me. Okay. Okay, are we getting a next code somewhere? Okay, well, I'm hungry, so I'm going to make some food and then maybe install some Xcode dependencies at the same time. And then I will start a stream again for this afternoon. Great. I think that will just be a new stream. All right. Thanks for everyone who chimed in. Thanks, Forrest, for the suggestion about hinting. That might definitely be something what is going on. All right. See you in the next one.